Good day to you all, and thank you for joining another Thorogood Webcast, Extend Your Power BI Reports. My name is Raghav, and I'm a Business Intelligence and Analytics Consultant at Thorogood Associates, and I'm based in Singapore. I'm also joined by my colleague, Saikrupa, who's based in India, and she'll be taking you through the latter half of the content. To give you all a quick overview of what we're going to cover today, we'll first start off with an introduction to Thorogood Associates, for those of you who are unfamiliar with us. We will then look at a couple of key buzzwords, which I'm sure lots of you would have heard recently, which is digital transformation and self-service. And we'll see what we cover today, how does that tie in with these two buzzwords as well. We will then look at Power BI in conjunction with the Azure platform and try to evaluate what are those scenarios where we actually want to move beyond Power BI, and what are those technical and business situations where it makes sense to explore these powerful pairings. Next, we will look at the Power Platform, of which Power BI itself is a part, and see how that can bring additional flexibility in terms of automation and user interactivity within your reports. Firstly, an introduction to Thorogood. So Thorogood Associates is a specialist business intelligence and analytics firm. We've been in business for over 30 years, and we operate globally with the headquarters in London and offices on the east coast of the US, Bangalore, as well as burgeoning units in Singapore and Sao Paulo as well. As a specialist firm, we look at delivering strategy, solutions, and services within the business intelligence and analytics framework. So we would look at, say, the initial roadmaps around technology architectures and tool solutions for your organizations, but also more specifically look at the design, development, support of applications as well. And thereafter, we can also help you with embedding this within the organization through training and adoption. As a firm, we like to lock on to the business focus and understand the business value which you're trying to derive from your initiatives, and also try to understand what are the certain actions which you want to enable using these initiatives as well. And using that business focus, we bring in our deep expertise across analytics and technology to unlock the value that you're looking for. As I mentioned, we're an independent firm, so we don't partner with just a single technology, but rather partner with a host of the most relevant vendors and technologies in the business intelligence and analytics space. This allows us to give our customers and clients a holistic vision. Specific to our topic today, we've been partners with Microsoft for over 15 years across the key areas of data analytics, our platform, and even data center and application development. This partnership allows us to stay at the cutting edge of these tools and also know more about the roadmaps which product teams within Microsoft are following for each of these tools. This partnership with Microsoft also allows us to run educational events across the various tool sets which Microsoft offers, and not just independently, but in conjunction with both Microsoft and companies like Databricks as well. We also host Power BI applications within the Power BI partner portal, and these always serve as useful reference. Alongside that, we are an approved partner for hosting Azure solutions, and that gives our clients the flexibility they require to move quickly and efficiently as well. Gartner, which is a popular and respected research and advisory firm, comes up with these quadrants every year to look at how technologies are evolving against the axes of the ability to execute and their completeness of vision. We're talking about Microsoft tools today, and that is for good reason, as Microsoft lies in the leader quadrant and has been for the past few years as well. So if you're evaluating Microsoft tools for your business intelligence and analytics requirements, you're in a good place. So to get back to our topic for the day, which is digital transformation, self-service, and see how that ties in with the extension of your Power BI reports, I would like to firstly quickly touch upon these two buzzwords and then see the relationship. So when you're talking about digital transformation, with organizations becoming increasingly digital in terms of moving their services online and sort of looking at how they can move their data and processes to the cloud as well, we're trying to derive a strategy which allows you to engage customers, but in turn look at how you can optimize your operation, transform your products in order to keep them most relevant, and also in the process empower your employees to be self-sufficient with their data requirements as well. And really at the heart of digital transformation is data. The volume, veracity, and the variety of data is increasing every day, and we're only capturing more and more data as we go through our projects and processes. But really, data alone does not do it for you. It is the ability to then synthesize it using analytics techniques and modern technologies, which really brings the value from this data. And using this intelligence, you're then able to improve your business outcomes and derive actions which bring the business value to the fore as well. Today, if I was to concentrate on just one of these pillars and look at how self-service ties in with empowering your employees as well. So if I was to break this down into things which are known and also things which I believe should be added under the self-service ambit. So when you're talking about self-service, we're really talking about how easy it is for individuals within a firm to access the data sets. So all individuals leading projects and in their day-to-day activities would like access to these data sets, and this is what we're trying to enable under self-service for them with the minimal red tape and doing it in an easy fashion as well. But as I just mentioned, access to data alone isn't enough. There is also the know-how of working with the tool which will help you derive those insights, which is extremely important as well. And I would also actually mention that self-service should mean more. And it should also mean that organizations and individuals within those organizations should be able to consume advanced analytics as well. So there's a lot of work which is happening within internal teams as well as with the help of external groups. And the idea is to make this advanced analytics available to everybody across the organization as well. Furthermore, you're also trying to build the flexibility within your reporting applications, so bringing that automation, that user interactivity. And this is what tools like the Microsoft Azure platform and the Power Platform will allow you to do as well. So before I actually look at the relationship which the Power BI application and the Azure platform actually share, I would also like to evaluate when is it that you will want to move beyond Power BI for your analysis. Power BI itself has analytics embedded within it. So you can look at deriving forecasts for your time series data. You can look at identifying, say, key influences and try to identify why things are increasing or decreasing and the reasons behind that. You could also then plug in, say, R or Python code and make certain visualizations available for yourself as well. Or you could also leverage the inbuilt clustering algorithms for your purposes. But really, it is when you're trying to move from the high-level numbers and trying to understand the details or the reason why is when you might require to move beyond the Power BI tool and look at applications which can handle large scales of data and can give you the detailed information as well. Furthermore, the pre-built algorithms within Power BI might just take you to a certain extent, and there are certain situations where you require that customization, say in thresholds or say parameters, which you would like to control, and that is more possible in tools which are more aligned to machine learning and artificial intelligence. Finally, there could be scenarios where months and years of work have been done in terms of developing machine learning models within your company. And it might just be a case of you wanting to consume the insights and the functionality that it provides. Power BI allows you to do that easily and quickly as well. So if I was to look at the Azure platform and trim it down for you to a few specific approaches, I'll probably first consider a code-first approach using something like Azure Databricks to pair alongside Power BI. Azure Databricks, as I'll quickly showcase in a quick second, gives you that ultimate flexibility as well. You could also look at then a low-code or a no-code approach using something like Azure ML Designer or Automated ML and tying that with your Power BI to quickly explore your data and get the insights that you're looking for. Furthermore, in case you just want to leverage the pre-built AI models which Microsoft provides, you can look at connecting to something like Azure Cognitive Services as well. What I will start off is with looking at the code-first approach using Azure Databricks. Those of you who are unfamiliar with Databricks, it's nothing but a unified analytics platform for data engineering and analytics at cloud scale, and it's built on Spark. And the scale and its sort of architecture being built on Spark allows you to build those proprietary models having that specific customization which you're looking for. Each organization has its own specific conditions when it comes to certain types of analysis, and incorporating that with a code-first approach is one of the things where you will look at Azure Databricks as your tool of choice as well. The handling of large-scale data, as I mentioned, being built on Spark allows it to handle your large-scale data and continues to give you the performance of which allows you to do so as well. And then it could be the case of you wanting to add some custom text alongside your insights as well. So a code-first approach can allow you to get that custom text alongside these insights and give your users a more wholesome context to the numbers which you're showing. And this is especially useful when your users are new to consuming advanced analytics insights. Finally, as I mentioned, Databricks provides you that ultimate flexibility. So in terms of moving between different languages to code in, depending upon which one is the most efficient for your requirement, or leveraging the vast number of machine learning frameworks which are available to you within the tool itself. And a tool like Databricks alongside Power BI can then allow you to do certain types of analysis. So for example, you can look at deriving the opportunity value that you have for your new product introductions. You can do so by crunching large quantities of third-party data, which give you an idea of how products of certain types are performing across channels, and bring that to your product portfolio as well. You can look at maybe combating payments fraud, and that will require going through a large number of transactions in a manner which is almost real-time to effectively combat that. And also maybe look at enhancing your customer experience. So looking at what are those features in your online platforms which customers are using, trying to double down and improve that to improve your customer experience as well. You can also look at risk management across your value chain. Risk, as you know it, each organization sort of follows its own definition and sets its own thresholds, and that flexibility can be incorporated in a code-first approach using Azure Databricks. Or you could simply look at identifying key drivers and understanding why things have changed and trying to understand the reasons behind it. At the same time, trying to derive the outliers, those brand variants or those products which have outperformed or underperformed as compared to the average. And that's what I'm going to concentrate on today and show you a quick demo of as well. So when you're looking to do this sort of analysis, you're essentially going to use something like a Databricks notebook to host your logic, where you're going to be running your logic as well. And the output of that can be stored on your Databricks cluster. Power BI can then in turn connect to that cluster, bring in that data, and then show you these numbers and visualizations alongside your embedded analytics as well. To have a quick view of that, let me actually go to Databricks. So Databricks is essentially where you can write these notebooks, you can write this logic. And essentially, once you've done that, and I'm just going to quickly scroll through this and not concentrate too much on the individual tiles. Once you've written that logic, and essentially go ahead and store that on a table on the cluster itself. And it is within this cluster where you're going to have the options and the server names that you're going to be using to connect with Power BI as well. So it is the JDBC or DBC section where you have the URL provided. And a little bit of work with this URL allows you to get the server name which Power BI requires for connecting to Databricks. Let's actually switch quickly to Power BI. And I'm sure this interface would be familiar to most of you on the call. When I'm trying to connect to Databricks, essentially I'm going to try and use the Spark data connector to do so. And this is where that URL which we were just seeing a quick second ago would come into play as well. Since I've already prepared the URLs, let me just plug it in. And I'm going to choose the protocol to be HTTP and leave the data connectivity mode at import and say, OK. And it's really as easy as that. Depending upon the access which you have to your Databricks account, you might require a custom token to be set up to allow access. But once that is set up, you will be able to quickly access the tables which exist on that cluster and go from there to use this data as you would with any other Excel or CSV file imported within Power BI. And being as easy as it is, you can then go on to extending go on to look and extend your Power BI reports with this analysis as well. So for example, looking at the key influencers visual over here and trying to see which brands actually influence my sales volume, I find an interesting brand and its effect on the overall sales, which I would like to really dive deep into. So the brand Pale seems to be performing above average and has been for quite a few months. Maybe I want to understand what are those outliers which is really contributing to this above average performance. That is where the data which I bring through my Databricks notebook can be put to use, so I can quickly identify what are those influential drivers which have caused this change to happen or this above average performance to happen, and even look at those detailed insights against each of those brand variants in each of those channels to identify what is the exact reason and what is the magnitude of change from the average which has caused this particular brand variant in this channel to be an outlier. So quite a few possibilities open up looking at Databricks alongside Power BI. So if I was to go to the next approach, which is the low-code or the no-code approach, you could look at a tool like Azure ML, which gives you a drag-and-drop interface like Designer, or you could also automatically create your machine learning models on top of your datasets using an offering called AutoML, which is available under the Azure ML banner. And really, these offerings can be used in conjunction with Power BI when you're trying to quickly experiment and explore the data which is available to you and derive those advanced analytics possibly relatively quickly, get a more decent idea of the data which is at hand, and see if it's worth investing your time and exploring further. Furthermore, since this is a low-code or no-code approach, you really don't require to write any code to get these advanced analytics insights. That's one of the major use cases of using something like AutoML or Azure ML Design as well. These tools, the way they're built and the way these models are hosted, allow you to easily consume the data as well. So anytime you have your hands on new sets of data where you would like to consume a pre-built model, AutoML alongside something like Power BI gives you that option as well. And these tools can then be used to maybe do something around predicting probability of your credit card default. This is a standard form of analysis which a lot of companies or a lot of banks would definitely do. And this is something which is easily possible using some of the pre-built models or even deriving your own model pretty easily within Azure ML. You can also look at pricing predictions. So again, looking at third-party data, looking at how companies are pricing their products and how that affects your portfolio as well, and looking at what are the appropriate prices to go into the market with. You can also use something like Azure ML to predict your customer or product portfolio churn. So using analysis which is very similar in principle to identifying credit card default, just in a slightly different scenario, looking at customers and product portfolios. Or you could very simply look at forecasting sales for future months. So incorporating all the different seasonality which you might want to in your data, you can look at what your future months are going to be like and hence derive actions in accordance with that forecast as well. So if I was to quickly jump to Azure ML and show you the interface. So as I mentioned, Azure ML gives you a series of different offerings. I'm not going to concentrate too much during this webcast. We probably have webcasts coming up soon, which will talk about this in more detail. Let me actually quickly dive into automated ML. Automated ML is as easy as you providing automated ML a set of data, which it can then run a bunch of algorithms on, and then choose which algorithm works best on your data and build a model corresponding to that. Once that is done, you essentially create an endpoint, which allows you to access this model from applications outside. And this endpoint gives you the information which you would use in an application like Power BI for its consumption or for the model's consumption itself. So switching back, there are a couple of different approaches in which Power BI can work alongside Azure ML. So either you have something called read access on your Azure subscription, and this is very rare for all users within an organization to have. In the other scenario, which I'm going to quickly show, is you can have a Python script which consumes that model using that endpoint which I've shown over there. And then you can bring in new sets of data in, say, Excel or CSV files and have the automated ML model, for example, run on this new set of data and give you the insights you're looking for. And this allows you to, for example, derive forecasts in our particular scenario here. So if I was to quickly jump into Power BI and show you these different steps. So I've already loaded a set of data of sales looking at 2016 data, and I'm trying to consume a model which predicts the sales for this particular year, for example. And I already have some sales data available with me in sales volume, and maybe I just want a column which looks at the calculated sales. What I've done, as I mentioned, I've already loaded a file with the data, with the different attribute values. And what I need to do as the next step is essentially run a Python script. So the Python script which you will run is pretty simple to create, nothing too complex, and there are models available online for you to essentially build this script. And this is where we're using that endpoint, which I pointed out a few seconds ago, which is going to be of use to you in terms of consumption of this model. And once that is done, once these steps are essentially done, you can go ahead and have that calculated sales value according to your model alongside, say, maybe your actuals, or in case this is a completely new month with attribute combinations, can help you forecast your data as well. And this in turn then allows you to have a more flexible forecast and say, look at things in a more data-driven fashion, rather than maybe just relying on Power BI to dictate your forecast. There are certain scenarios where Power BI may not give you the insights you're really looking for in the manner you're looking for, and that's where something like Azure ML alongside Power BI could help in deriving a forecast. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with respect to Azure ML and Databricks. I will now hand it over to you, Sai, to talk through Power BI with Azure Cognitive Services, as well as Power BI with the Power Platform.
Hello, everyone. In this section, we will talk about Azure Cognitive Services and how well Power BI can work with it and help derive insights about the data. The word cognitive or cognition is often referred to in the context of thinking, knowing, perceiving, so a lot to do with textual information. So what does Azure offer? It offers a multitude of complex, powerful, user-friendly artificial intelligence algorithms that can be easily integrated with applications within the Azure stack and on other platforms. These are available as a set of REST APIs and can be integrated with your own applications without requiring any expertise in machine learning or artificial intelligence. And that's why we call them pre-built. So these APIs are broadly split into 5 categories. So the first one is vision, and it caters to identifying and analyzing content within images and videos, and helps with use cases where you need to analyze image, recognize handwriting, read text within images, identify content within each frame of a video or something like that. The next category is speech. And if you had ever tried integrating a speech recognition software into your workflow, and you would know how big a struggle it is. Azure offers accurate AI-based services such as text-to-speech transcriptions, speech verification, real-time translations, among others, to use it without much effort. The next category is language, and that focuses on communication, and Azure offers a wide range of tools capable of analyzing and interpreting textual information. Text Analytics API is one of the most interesting offerings which finds its use case in a much wider community. For example, e-commerce is a huge business in this era, and with limited human interaction, e-commerce companies rely on user reviews and feedbacks provided for their products and sellers on the web. Text Analysis API can come in very handy in such cases and offers user-friendly, intuitive ways to analyze and interpret data. Today, we will be focusing on some of the Text Analytics API in our demo offering you insights on how Power BI along with cognitive services can help with day-to-day businesses. The fourth category is knowledge, and that primarily derives its use case with AI-driven chatbots. For example, these come in handy when you want to integrate customer support chat within your website. The final category is search, which is powered by Bing search engine. As you know, Bing is not as popular as Google, but it does employ powerful AI algorithms capable of searching, comparing results, and limiting results that are relevant. It also offers search on images as well as videos. So in this slide, in the next slide, I will talk about how Azure Cognitive Services can be easily integrated with Power BI and how we could use the output to derive insights. We will follow it up with a quick demo, as I said before, with Text Analysis API. As mentioned previously, cognitive services are offered as APIs and are pre-built. This means there's absolutely no need for any code or probably a limited code, but you don't need to have any understanding of machine learning algorithms that run behind. This helps in quick turnaround without having to invest a lot of time in integrating and setting up the entire solution. In order to use these APIs, you need to sign up to Azure Cognitive Services, and this comes at various pricing tiers based on the number of reads of textual information that you need to feed into your data feed, that comes from your data feed. Once you sign up to your subscription, you get a subscription key, and then you can use that subscription key along with a call to the API, which I'll show you in a bit, to read the data that's output of those APIs integrated within your data feed. And the output can be displayed in Power BI in appropriate ways to kind of show you how to and help you derive insights. So what I have today is a set of products and the user review feedback for those products, primarily from an Amazon website. So what you see here is the product, a review text, and the title to the review itself, and the user details. So what you could probably do is, what we see here is how we invoke those API calls and use the output here. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the key phrases API. So what this basically does is, it is one of the sample set of APIs from the text analytics API, and what it basically does is pick up the important words from the text. So the way you do it is, it's a small bit of code. The language is called M, but it's very straightforward. You will get this sort of information from online itself. So the way you create is, you've got to create a custom query for your data source, and you embed the API key in there that you get as part of your, once you sign up for your subscription, and you call the key phrases API. So you get this URL endpoint as well as part of your subscription, and what it does is, using this key, it validates your subscription and calls the key phrases API. So a few lines of code here, and at the end of the day, what it returns as an output is a column with the details of the key phrases in a comma-separated list. The next API that we'll probably try and use today is a sentiment API. So basically what it does is analyzes the sentiment within the text. So if you pass a text as a parameter to this function call, to this API, it gives you a score which ranges from 0 to 1 to tell you whether the text sounds positive, negative, neutral, etc. So how do we use these two functions within our data? So we've just defined them now. So we'll go back to our query. We'll go back to our data set, which is imported from a CSV file. So what I'll do here is I will invoke a custom function. You will see the list of functions that we've defined here. I'll choose between key phrases and sentiment. In this case, I have used, for key phrases, I'll pass the review title as the parameter. And for sentiment, I've passed review text as my parameter. I already have this data here. So if you see here, I have two additional columns in my data set now, which is key phrases and sentiment. Key phrases gives you a comma-separated list, and sentiment gives you a score. So one of the easiest way of displaying textual information, or most powerful way of displaying textual information in a Power BI report, is to use the word cloud. So in this case, I've used the word cloud against the key phrases column. And what it shows me is picks and chooses of commonly used words in my review. And the bigger the words, the more the number of feedback around that. So if you see here, the reviews for product have been great, good, etc. On the other hand, sentiment is a number, so you could interpret it in multiple ways, and I'll show you some of the ways that we've interpreted it here. So sentiment score, what I've done is I've kind of built a column chart using a category. That's just one of the simplest or the easiest visual that we can have. I've also represented the score over time to see if for a particular, against the manufacturer here. So I will know for a particular manufacturer how the review scores have been, how the trend has been. For example, Amazon Digital, the trend has gone downwards between 2013 and 15. So it gives you a clear picture. And you can drill down into more details as you add more details to your data feed. On the other hand, what I've also done is I've tried to understand how many users have really given me given me a feedback that sounds positive. So what I've basically done is I've split my sentiment scores into bins, as we call it, into different groups with a range of 0.1, as you see. And I've assigned, or I've counted on the number of users that have similar sentiment scores. So I can see that majority of my users have given positive feedback here because there's a lot around 0.9, and that's the trend that we see. And the final one is a box and a whiskers chart. It's a custom visual offered by Power BI. It's available in the Microsoft Power BI Marketplace, and it gives a really detailed insight about the sentiment score itself. So what I have done here is basically, if you look at this particular, the bigger box that is split by category, and this particular category is office supplies and electronics, the size of the box shows me the range of the sentiment scores. So the minimum is 0.32, and the maximum is 0.96. So it kind of tells me there's a big variation between the minimum and the maximum value. So there are people who have really rated the product poor, and there are people who have really rated the product high. But it also gives you a median, which is the line here, which tells me that the median is 0.83, which gives me some consolation saying that most of the feedback is kind of positive. So these are some of the ways that you can kind of use these outputs from the Cognitive Services API based on the textual information that you have with absolutely minimal effort in terms of, the code that you're writing. I will now switch back to the presentation as we move on to the next section. So in this section, we will talk about Microsoft's Power Platform and the flexibility it offers to set up to work with each other. So what is Microsoft Power Platform? This platform is Microsoft's no-code or low-code family of tools for modern application development. There are 4 key components to this platform. Power BI is part of this platform along with Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power Virtual Agents. Power Automate is a workflow automation platform which can connect to a variety of sources and trigger a sequence of actions for business processes. Power Apps, on the other hand, provides a web-based platform to develop low-code applications. It also offers predefined templates and canvases that the user can pick and choose to kind of quickly develop an application, or it also allows the user to start from scratch. You can run these apps on mobile phones and desktops, and you can connect to any sort of enterprise databases. The Power Virtual Agents, on the other hand, is a platform for no-code graphical interface to develop chatbots powered by Microsoft AI models and natural language processing algorithms. These bots can be deployed as part of the website, enabling customized interaction with the users of the website. So if you look at each of these functionality individually, each of these components can be quite powerful on its own. But what we think has made Microsoft, this offering, become so rich over the last 5 years is that they're more towards embracing interoperability. We worked on a project with a customer on the manufacturing space in one of the earliest releases of Power BI, and we've seen how Power BI has evolved over the years, and it's just so enriching to see these features right now. In the next set of slides, we will see some of the use cases of how these 4 platforms individually can be paired alongside one another, and we'll also talk about a use case where we think this can be used. So Power Automate can be used in conjunction with Power BI to use the insights derived from Power BI and follow it up with deep, meaningful actions aligned with business processes. As I said previously, Power Automate is a workflow automation software. So Power Automate offers a set of default templates so the users or the Power users can start using it. The users can also set up their own custom workflow that suits their needs. Some examples would be like sending a simple email alert based on a Power BI dashboard alert, running ML algorithms based on certain specific targets, which are triggered by alerts again, or even to refresh a Power BI data set. On the other hand, Power BI and Power Apps can get along with very well as well. So what makes Power BI and Power Apps powerful together? Most of the reporting tools that you've seen would fall behind when we specifically talk about writing back data to the data source. Power Apps is here to bridge the gap. Though Power Apps is basically a low-code application development platform, what makes it more powerful is there is a Power Apps visual within Power BI wherein you can embed your Power Apps application itself. And this application allows you to kind of give you the write-back functionality that's not available in most of the reporting tools and kind of seamlessly provide that interface between writing back from a reporting tool. So in the next slide now, I'm going to quickly walk you through a common use case specific to master data management, which we have come across in some of our client customer stories. In our example, we've used a product master data, which rolls up to subcategories and categories, which is the default sort of roll-up you will see in every product data that you've come across. But in many cases, what we've also seen is that certain business users would want to roll up differently. So you kind of provide a custom grouping option. And this exercise is in most of the cases done manually. So there is a lot of room for errors, and there are when we receive the file, we've seen that certain products are left unmapped. So how do we bridge all these gaps using an automated solution? And that's what we're going to see here. So in this solution, what we'll talk about is a Power BI report, which kind of uses that master data as the source, and it kind of shows you a unmapped list of products. We'll also embed a Power App within the Power BI and show how we can edit the mappings and commit the changes back to the data source. And Power Automate will come into picture to identify and update the Power BI data Power BI dataset every time there's an update to the data source file. So Power BI, when you refresh the report in Power BI, you always see the latest data. So I'm going to quickly shift to the demo. So as you see in my screen right now, I have a data set that is from an Excel source, which I call it Product Master. So this is the file I have, which has a list of products, category and division mapping, and I also have a custom grouping, which has two values, affected and unaffected. And as you can see, there are some of those custom grouping values here are left blank, which are unmapped. So I've kept the file short for the sake of the demo, but this can be of any size. I'll close this. I'll now move on to my platform. So if this is the Power BI report that I'm going to demonstrate today. So as you can see at the top of the report is a table that connects to the mapping demo Excel file that I just showed you. And it kind of lists only the unmapped products. So the user gets to view that there are still unmapped products in my product master data. What it also lets you do is edit that master data. So the one that you see below, which says Consumer Goods SKU Lookup, is nothing but a PowerUps application. So I've used a PowerUps visual within Power BI to embed this PowerUps, which I'll kind of show you in a bit. So what I'll do here is I'll probably go to the last, I'll probably take 248. I'll get the one that's unmapped, the second one in that list. I'll click on the arrow mark, and it takes me to another screen within the PowerUps that I've developed, which shows the details of my product. What I'm now doing is I'm going to update this saying, I'm going to commit these changes. So when I hit commit, what it basically does is writes this latest data back to the Excel file that I just showed you. So I'm going to click on commit. Yeah. So now it's not written back. So if you go back and open the file now, it should ideally have the updated data. So if you see here, I now have the value unaffected against test for demo, the comment that I gave right now. So what I have now done is I'll quickly switch over to the Power Platform, which is the Microsoft Automate flow that I've just set up. So this is the Power Automate platform that's offered by Azure. So what you see here is a quick workflow sort of an interface that lets you kind of build a new workflow that you want. So what I've done here is basically I'm trying to say that when there is a change to the file within that folder, I want that file to be copied into an archive folder, and I would also want to refresh a Power BI dataset. It's as easy as this to set it up. I have connections set up to each of these folders and the Power BI, and that gets picked up automatically. On the other hand, I'll also show you about the PowerUps itself. So this is the PowerUps that we just saw within the Power BI visual. So what you see here is the edit screen. I'll quickly show you the other screen. So this is a screen that we've built. So PowerUps offers you a quick web-based interface to build an application. So you've got text box, labels, buttons, anything that you want, and you can quickly attach action to each of these. So for example, let me quickly show you the edit screen. The commit changes. This is the action that I've attached to commit changes, and all that it does is update the information that's available in my in the Excel file. And the table 2 is a connection that I've set up in the PowerUps application itself. So it's a quick one browser-based interface to kind of build your applications, and it's very powerful as such. So let's quickly check if our update has triggered the Power Automate here. So if you look at this, there's something that's triggered 3 minutes ago. It's failed. I'll quickly tell you why it's failed. So Power BI data refresh, automated data refresh on a normal account can happen only certain times a day. So that would have possibly failed. We probably used it for testing for a while, and that's why it's failed. So at the end of the day, what happens is once that flow gets completed, you come here, refresh your report, you should possibly see one row less here because that application has actually updated refreshed the data set and mapped the product. That's all we had for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. I have flashed our contact details if you want to reach out to either of us and discuss any specific details that you would need further. Thank you all for your time today.